Hey everybody, what's good? Welcome back to the Pocket Moggers. Today we're going to be talking about the Charmander line, which is my favorite of the starter Pokemon lines, especially in Kanto. So I'm going to hold back my bias here and do my best to give y'all an objective mogging here, see what we can do. All right, let's get started. So yeah, we're starting out really strong again, just like we did with Bulbasaur. This line is another banger. They just don't stop over there at the Pokemon Company when it comes to starters. Uh, this Pokemon has a lot about it that becomes kind of typical in later fire type Pokemon. Things like having fire connected to your body in some way to help people understand the elemental connection better than just being orange or red, right? Is something that you'll see a lot of. Um, there's a lot about Charmander that will become very commonplace among fire type Pokemon, especially that like more reptilian theme. There are mammalian and avian and well, I don't know, fish, uh, um, fire type Pokemon, but more often than not, they're going to have some sort of reptilian or draconic element to them. Um, if Bulbasaur is the easy mode of the original games, Charmander is the expert mode or the very hard mode. Um, Good luck. If you're a first time trainer doing this, you're going to go down the same course that I did, where you're going to be very frustrated for a little bit, especially if you don't catch any other Pokemon. Charmander itself is weak to the first two gym leaders, and unless it evolves, it is also weak to the eighth gym leader. When it evolves, it is no longer weak to the eighth gym leader, but is weak to the third gym leader instead. And it only has an advantage against the fourth gym leader, Erica, the grass type. So it's a difficult course for yourself should you choose to charter it. But I believe in you guys. I think you can do it. I've done it many times, and it's a lot of fun. It's worth it. So if you're looking for a little bit more of a challenge, go with Charmander. You'll have fun. Yeah, so Charmeleon is the awkward teenager phase for this family, and he's the guy who's really not comfortable with being a teenager. You know, the one that lashes out on everybody and just goes on their own and doesn't socialize and things like that as much because they're feeling awkward. They don't know how to deal with what's going on. Yeah, that's Charmeleon for sure. Very much a rebel without a cause. And it's got this vibe going on. You know, you can see the bad attitude that's going on, but with the silly look, it makes a fun juxtaposition there with attitude and actual battle power. Its bark is much worse than its bite. Um, I do remember in the anime that Charmeleon was quite the fan of the finger, or at least appeared to be quite the fan of the finger, and I always thought that that was funny as a kid that we just had this one Pokemon that was just like, yeah, you know how I feel about you. Okay, so like I said in the description, I bought Pokemon Red specifically for Charizard. This big guy is just like the living definition of aura. Always has been, always will be. Uh, they chose very wisely putting this guy on one of the covers for the games. Um, like I said, the tough fire breathing dragon appeal that we got going on here would have been like a fishing line for kids, especially young boys in the 1990s. They would have just gobbled that up, and still do to this day. Sorry, folks, had to go turn something off there. I mean, you've seen this guy a million billion times before. You know about Charizard. There's not really much I can say that you don't already know. He's awesome, or they're awesome. You know, there are female Charizard. There are female Pokemon in general. I will try to refer to the specifically female Pokemon as she's. If you hear me say guy or guys, I don't specifically mean men. I mean no offense by that statement. But speaking of gender and gender differences and things like that, in Generation 4, female Charizards were almost given one horn on the back, just like Charmeleon, and that looks awful. I'm kind of glad they didn't do that. So here we are again, looking at the stats, and once again, Charizard doesn't have a single stat that's below the mean. So Charizard's doing good. By Generation 1 standards, these stats are okay. Even by Generation 2, really, but especially given 3 or 4, this is nothing special, and it really does hurt Charizard quite a bit. Decent speed and decent special attack, certainly well above average, but nothing to make a report about or write home about or anything like that. And only a decent, and even then, just kind of okay attack stat. When you're a Pokemon that's as weak to Rock type as Charizard is just not. It's just nothing special. It's just not going to help you. Really. Charizard needs things to help it overcome the fact that it is 4 times weak to rock, and there is a rock type status move that gets rid of half of its health whenever it's sent out into battle, and it just doesn't have anything to compensate for that. Its abilities Blaze and Solar Power are both okay. That boost the fire type moves can help in a pinch in lower competitive levels. And Solar Power, losing health in the sun to make your attacks stronger, not attack stat, attacks, your special attacks stronger. It's okay, but again, when you have such a glaring weakness that can take you out as quickly as rock types do, it's just not what Charizard needs. Fortunately, its extra forms have some sauce, and they actually help this guy out quite a bit. Having said all that, given the fact that it did in fact beat the mean, and that it's got moves, like I mentioned here, like Rock Slide and Solar Beam and Defog and Dragon Pulse and Earthquake, even boosting moves like Swords Dance and Earthquake, I'm going to give it an 8 out of 10. In Generation 1 and Generation 3, you can only obtain Charmander from Professor Oak. It's a starter, so that's the only place you can get it. In Yellow version, you can get one from a trainer on Route 23, Route 24, sorry, which is north of Cerulean City. He will give you a Charmander for free. It's level 10. And then in the Let's Go games, you can catch them in a couple of places. But again, people just don't play those games. So I'm sorry, but I didn't bother to put that up in here. I will for regular Pokemon, but for the starters, it just doesn't feel worth doing it because most people are going to play other games where you get it at the beginning for free. So having access to a fire type early is usually a good thing. And it is advantageous somewhat in Kanto, but it might be better to just wait to get your fire type later if you're not really drawn in by Charizard's persona and things like that. Just like with Venusaur here, I mean, there's not really much I can say about these guys that you haven't already heard. Charizard, in particular, is a Pokemon that is almost ubiquitous with the term itself. It and Pikachu are probably the two Pokemon that people think of most when they think of Pokemon. Charizard has become a little infamous because of how well regarded it is. It was Ash's token Pokemon in the anime after it learned to obey him and became his ace for a good long while. It even comes back from time to time, or did when Ash was the lead, just to show off a little bit. Let's see here. Red in Pokemon Generations used a Charizard as his starter. Blue is often depicted using a Charizard as his starter. I mean, Leon, the champion of the Galar region, uses a Charizard. He's from Sword and Shield. Lance in Pokemon Gold and Silver, the champion, uses a Charizard. You see a pattern here. Charizard is used a lot, both in game and outside, in advertisement and video games that aren't the main series, and trading cards in particular. Charizard is always a hot topic in the trading card world. So Charizard has kind of been overused in a lot of fans' eyes and has a bit of a negative reputation for that. And I certainly understand why, even though I don't agree. I just think that he's awesome. But I get why people are tired of him. Oh, and just like Ivysaur, I forgot to mention, he's even playable in Smash. He was a Pokeball Pokemon, and then he became a playable character. Right? So I don't know. Like, I do understand. Really, I do. I feel that way about Pikachu, and in particular, I feel that way about Lucario. I just have never cared for that thing, and I'm really tired of seeing it. But, if you're not worried about it being shoehorned into every product that you can see, just enjoy the ride. Grab a Charizard and have fun. Because I still think it's awesome. And it gets an 8 out of 10 just because it's gas. That's just how I feel. So if we add all of those categories up, Charizard gets a 16 out of 20 with 2 8s. That's pretty good. There aren't going to be so many Pokemon that get that high. I do high up, that is. I do think a little break for Charizard would help people a lot. Like I say here, it's true that their design philosophy peaked when they started, but there's no reason to brag about it again and again and again, right? But Charizard really does show how strong the series designs are. How much of a what's what I'm looking for? Um, how much simplicity can go the extra mile? It's just a dragon, right? It's just an orange dragon with fire on its tail, but that's all it needs to be cool, right? And that simplicity really does help Pokemon as a franchise out quite a bit. Um, it's a pity, in my opinion, that fire starters will never go as hard as they did this time. But hey, that's how it goes. It's just a shame, I guess. Thanks y'all so much for your time. Let your families know that you love them. Stay safe out there in the crazy world we've got going on right now, and I'll see y'all in the next one.